Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. In this video, we're going to refute the top 10 unscientific Quranic verses, as produced by the atheist called Nate Talks to You. And it's interesting, these atheists, they go out and point out contradictions within the Quran and unscientific work, yet they don't do any research and rebuttal and responses to that. So we're not going to let him get away with it. We're going to respond, and God willing, you will see that these manipulating satanic liars, these atheists that Allah has spoken about in the Quran. What has Allah said about these people in the Quran? Allah has said about these atheists, He says in Quran 36:8, "Surely we have placed chains on their necks, and theirs reach up to their chins, so that they have their heads raised aloft." Verse 9, "And we have set a bar before them and a bar behind them, and thus have covered them, so they cannot see." Quran 2:7, "Allah has set a seal upon their hearts and upon their hearing, and over their vision is a veil, and for them is a great punishment." So they cannot understand when they look at the Quran and misinterpret it. They cannot understand to even look at other apologetic works, because Allah has made them deaf, dumb and blind. He's put a bar in front of them and behind them. Because of their sins and their mockery, Allah has misguided them. Allah has spoken the truth. So let's run through the video of the blind, and we'll show the mockery back at them.
We talk about the Quran. Last year we examined the book's, let's say, unique perspective on topics like marriage, women's rights, slavery, etc. And the verses we found were quite concerning. However, while that...
I've actually refuted him on this, and I'll put it in a new video coming very soon regarding all of these issues about his lies about homosexuality, being oppressed, and slavery, and things like child marriages.
The video focused more on the morality of the Quran. This time we'll look at its scientific accuracy, or lack thereof. These are the top 10 unscientific Quran verses. Number 10, where milk comes from. While the part of the body where a cow produces milk may seem like common sense, the Quran somehow got the location wrong. It claims that milk comes from their belly, between excretions and blood. It also describes the milk as pure.
Alert detection started.
Okay, so let's have a look what the actual verse of the Quran says. Does it actually come from the bellies as the Quran describes in Surah 16 verses 66? Okay, so here is a link. It's at answeringchristianity.com. It talks about the formation of milk from blood and farth. You can see the noble verses here where it describes verses 16 to 66. It says, "Verily we have in cattle a lesson. We give you to drink from what which is in their bellies, betwixt chimney and the blood, pure milk, easy swallow for those who drink." So basically, when the Quran mentions the bellies, it's talking about... So when Allah Almighty said that milk is formed from the proceeds of far from food or guts load and the blood, He, the Almighty, basically said that the substance of milk is essentially created from the proceeds or dissolved substances that come from the guts load or farce, which is what we humans call today proteins, vitamins, sugars, minerals, and so on. Let's continue.
And palatable to the drinkers. Yes, never mind the fact that raw milk can have bacteria, parasites, and viruses in them, and never mind the people who are lactose intolerant, or the fact that it's very common in people of Arab descent.
Okay, so basically his argument is that milk can make you very sick, yet the Quran says it's good for you. this is really silly. Nowhere in the Quran does it say you just consume the milk from the cow straight without giving it some sort of purification. I mean, you could take that milk and purify it yourself by sanitizing it and putting it under heat and so forth. You can boil it and so forth. It doesn't mean you just drink it from the milk straight on. So to attack the Quran and say, oh, the Quran is wrong for saying that the milk is bad for you, well, the Quran says the milk is good for you when it's actually bad for you. You're actually nonsensical. We can take that milk, pasteurize it, and make it good for us, and so forth, to clean it from any sort of bacteria. So your argument is really a straw man. And, when you say, oh, people are lactose intolerant and so forth, well, honey is also good for you, but there are some people who are actually, honey affects them. Like I've met a neighbor recently. I couldn't believe it. She actually said to me once that she's allergic to honey. Well, does that mean overall honey is bad for you? No. So when the Quran says it's good for you, it's in regards to in general terms. I mean, this person is just unbelievable.
How ironic. Basically, never go to this book for any info on nutrition. Number 9.
Just a silly person. Absolutely silly.
How birds fly. Aerodynamics, air pressure? Pfft, that's stupid. The Quran says birds fly because of Allah. Well, I'm sorry, Allah, but for an all-powerful being, I think you could do a bit better.
Okay, so what does the Quran say?
Bacteria, parasites, and viruses in them, and never mind the people who are How ironic. Basically, never go to this book for any info on nutrition. Number 9. How birds fly. Aerodynamics, air pressure? Pfft, that's stupid. The Quran says...
Okay, so here is his argument that, we had to go back to the actual verse. In Quran verses 1679, his argument is it's nonsense. It's aerodynamics that holds a bird up, and it's not Allah. But this is how nonsensical his argument is. First of all, when Allah says it is Allah who holds it up, this is in a symbolic sense, because Allah is the one who created those wings and gave it that aerodynamics. So when Allah says He holds them up, it means symbolically that that is His creation, and it is none but Allah that holds them up, because that's how Allah created them, and that's how Allah is actually signifying that He is the one responsible for that, because He created their aerodynamics and their wings. So obviously Allah symbolically is saying that He is the one who is holding them up, because essentially He created them. Now, if you created a drone, right, and you started flying a drone, you would say, look, I am holding that drone up. It is me that's holding that drone up. I mean, I could probably argue with you and say, no, it wasn't you. I don't care if you're the designer or the manufacturer. It's those, those 4 propellers, those fans that go around, that's holding it up. I mean, you'd find my comments ridiculous, right? Well, your comments are just as ridiculous, because yes, true, those fans and propellers are holding them up, but essentially it is the engineer who designed that. So he also shares in the magnitude of being responsible for having that entity flying. So again, the atheist argument is a straw man. He has no arguments, and he hasn't really thought about his responses. Let's continue.
As birds fly because of Allah. Well, I'm sorry, Allah, but for an all-powerful being, I think you could do better.
Absolutely banana. this
Couldn't
guy.
God have just made the birds self-sufficient? Why would an all-powerful creator make animals that can't function on their own? It seems
Nowhere does he say that. You're just making these absurd claims. Just a funny atheist, honestly. Funny atheist.
like a very unintelligent design. Number 8. How ships...
Oh, yes, but you know his magic atheism, that magic atheism that brought this universe into existence, apparently created those things, this magical, entity that came from nothing, created all of these complex enzymes and designs and all these birds. Yes, he would rather believe in this silly nonsense, this magical mother nature that never went to school created these things. And then he wants to mock God. What a pathetic atheist.
float. Since the writers of the Quran couldn't wrap their heads around how birds can fly, it shouldn't be a shock that...
Let's just forward this monkey. Honestly, let's forward this monkey.
Shouldn't be a shock they...
Okay, so in his next point, he says the Quran does not even know how ships float. And he quotes the verse. Let's have a look.
Not due to buoyancy, but because of, you guessed it, Allah. Remember,
Okay, so let's have a look at the verse. Okay, so he questions Surah 31 to 33. It says, "See though not that the ships sail through the oceans by the grace of Allah, that they may show you of his signs. Verily, this is his signs for all who constantly preserve and give thanks." So notice, where is the objection here? I mean, he says, oh, Allah didn't know how ships support each other and float. It's due to buoyancy. He says, oh, Allah didn't know this. Allah is claiming that he is the one that keeps them up. Well, again, it's the same argument I will make against the bird theory. And that is, it is Allah who allows the ships to sail through. He calms the seas. If he brought tougher seas, if he gave stronger winds, that ship is just going to fall into pieces. So when Allah says he allows the ships to sail through by the ocean by his grace, he is meaning that he is allowing these things to function the way they function because he has permitted them to do that. But if he brought a cyclone or a tornado, something that is a natural catastrophe through the oceans, then that ship is not going to sail by the grace of Allah. So that's basically what Allah is saying. Everything is in the permission of him. It's nothing about Allah didn't know about buoyancy. This atheist is absolutely silly, and I can't believe he's getting 213,000 views. And like I said, when my video is published, it probably never get the amount of views he's getting. But we live in a day and age that the one who is telling the truth will pretty much, everyone will ignore it. The one who's telling the liar will actually get all the views. And this is one of the signs of the day of judgment, that the Antichrist, the liar, will always be promoted as the one telling the truth, and the one telling the truth will be dismissed and, veiled behind closed doors. It's unbelievable. Let's continue.
Guessed it, Allah. Remember, everyone, if you don't know how shit works, just say God did it. DNA, God. The Earth, God. Cancer, God. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Oh, and when atheists can't explain who did it or what did it, they love denying God. They love saying, oh, God didn't do it. But then when you ask them to explain it, they say, oh, we don't have the answer now. Oh, just give us 1,000,000 years. We'll give you an answer in the future. How convenient, yeah? So the atheists play the same game. So if we say, if there's something that is unexplained and we put God into the equation, these atheists, they're so desperate, they say, oh, we can't answer it in years. How convenient in the age of science and technology. Yeah, and these atheists, they say things like, and they make excuses, right? When God is the best explanation, whenever you give an atheist a tricky question such as how do bees, for example, build hexagon hives, perfect symmetrical shape, building hives, and they do this during the dark while it's dark. How do they do this? They say instinct, right? So look at the Get Out card. They blame Muslims or creationists and say, oh, you always claim God to get out, yet they say, oh, it's just instinct, as if, you know, the bees were taught from their mothers and fathers. They weren't taught from their mothers and fathers, but as a Get Out card, they say instinct. Or, for example, you know, when a newly turtle tortoise hatches from its egg and it doesn't go to land, it goes to the water. How does it know that? They say, oh, it's instinct, right? So notice the Get Out card that they use when they can't explain things. So it's interesting. They want to, you know, use the arguments against creationists and say, oh, we always refer to God, but they refer to things like instincts, or, oh, we can't answer the question because we need another individual. So we're going to number 7 now. Bring back the dead. How weak are his arguments? Let's go.
Bring back the dead. Before the invention of things like the defib, it seems they had a very different method for reviving people. One part of the Quran tells the story of slaughtering a cow, then using part of that cow's body to bring a man back to life. I don't know, something tells me this doesn't work, but to be sure, let's do an experiment. Allahu Akbar! What the fuck?
You see, this is the best thing that the atheists have got. You know, when their arguments are so weak, they need to make these little funny videos and funny little scenes just so they can, you know, attract their audience to have a big joke about it. But that's not a rational argument. That isn't, you know, it's not respectful, first of all, and it's not professional at all. And it shows this kiddish behavior, and this is what these atheists have. They've got this bully, kiddish behavior. Let's tease the audience. Let's make a mockery out of them. But realistically, it's not intellectually honest, and it's not a fruitful discussion, because let's study the verses and we'll see what they actually mean and refute your claim. So the argument is, Musa alayhi salam, in his time, it was that a cow is to be slaughtered, and the meat of this cow was taken, and then the meat was to be gone to a dead man, and of course the dead man is supposed to wake up once the meat touches him. But notice the inconsistency here. These are the same atheists that believe that living matter came from dead organic matter. How did it happen? It was just a fart explosion in the universe, and it gave life to you. So these atheists want us to believe that this actually took place, but he makes a joke of a prophet using a piece of meat to wake up a dead body. And this is all a miracle. It's an intervention. It's not supposed to happen now. I mean, it's not testable for all of humankind. These miracles are only subjected to certain periods of time. So, like I said, these are the same atheists. They can't believe in miracles, right? Miracles are all hocus pocus, right? Even though he can't disprove it. I mean, his whole video is about scientifically disproving it. You can't disprove miracles, right? You can't actually disprove them. You can't go back in time and say, oh, look, this episode happened and here you go, I'm going to use my scientific method and I'm going to disprove it. You can't do that, because that miracle was for a particular point in time where that prophet did it. And you don't have the measurements to go back in time to disprove what he did was false. Okay, so again, it's just ludicrous, and this miracle isn't supposed to be applied for all human beings. And like I said, these are the same atheists that believe, they can't believe in these miracles, right? But they believe that this universe, complex life, everything came from, the universe just simply farted in a cloud and the universe began to exist. And then you had life forms emerge from this stupid piece of rock that has no intelligence. Yes, life immediately emerged millions of years after that episode. I mean, you want to believe that. You want to believe those miracles. In fact, atheism, you need more miracles in atheism than you do in creationism. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
Number 6. Dead birds can fly. As if the Quran couldn't get any more bizarre, this book has zombie birds in it too. Allah tells Abraham to take 4 birds and cut their bodies into pieces. Scatter their body parts over mountaintops and then call the birds back. They will swiftly come to him. This is some fun.
Now, have a look at this. See, look at the logic here. They're basically saying that it's illogical for God to get birds killed and get those birds brought back to life. Again, the atheist can't go back in time and disprove that and take place. I mean, they can't disprove it. But of course, he wants to use it as evidence against Islam. So, I mean, how do you use it as evidence against Islam when you can't actually disprove the miracle the prophets performed in the past? And like I said, you know, I mean, perhaps it's false. Let's say it's false, right? And that God is unable to perform those miracles. Now, the atheist would say, oh, look at your God. Look at your God. What kind of a God he is? He can't even bring the dead back to life, yet he's meant to be all-powerful. So notice, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you're a God that can perform such miracles, oh, then it's just phony. It's just hoax and pokies. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, right? But when God cannot perform it, then atheists say, oh, look at your God. Look how stupid he is. Look how silly he is. He can't even perform miracles and bring us back to life. So, like I said, it's like a double-edged sword. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. In fact, what is harder to bring back is a dead bird. So look at atheist, look how stupid his mentality is. He ridicules and makes fun of birds being slaughtered and those birds coming back to life, right? He makes fun of that. He says this is just ridiculous. Yet this stupid atheist thinks that this universe was, completely dead at one stage. There was no life, yet life began to exist from nothing. So what is harder, for Allah to bring life from something that already exists, like other life forms, or that life came from non-existence, just like you believe, from non-living elements? Okay, see, let's measure up the scales. Let's use some rationality. Which is harder? And this is why the mockery is back at you. When you want to make fun of the Quran, the mockery is back at you. Allah mocks you back. Okay, so his next argument, the moon emits light.
Word of advice to any science majors out there. You're studying for an exam, this is the last book you want to use. In the Quran, the moon is described as being a light. Not reflected light, but literally a light itself.
This guy is actually lying, because the Quran does say that there's a difference. It uses munir, the Arabic term, which is reflected light for the moon, and for the sun, it uses the word nur. So do not lie on the Quran and its manipulation that you proclaim. Let's see the response from Dr. Zakir Naik, who states, the light of the moon is reflected light. It was believed by earlier civilization that the moon emanates its own light. Science now tells us that the light of the moon is reflected light. However, this fact was mentioned in the Quran 1400 years ago in the following verses. Blessed is he who made the constellation in the skies and placed therein a lamp and the moon giving light. Al-Quran 25:61. The Arabic word for the sun in the Quran is Shams. It is referred to as Siraj, which means a torch, or as Wahaj, which means a blazing lamp, or as Diya, which means shining glory. All three descriptions are appropriate to the sun, since it generates intense heat and light by its internal combustion. The Arabic word for the moon is qamar, and it is described in the Quran as munir, which is a body that gives nur, i.e. light. Again, the Quranic description matches perfectly with the true nature of the moon, which does not give off light itself and is an inert body that reflects the light of the sun. Not once in the Quran is the moon mentioned as siraj or wahaj or diya, or the sun as nur or munir. This implies that the Quran recognizes the difference between the nature of sunlight and moonlight. Consider the following verses related to the nature of the light from the sun and the moon. It is He who has made the sun to be a shining glory and the moon to be a light of beauty. Al-Quran verses 10:5. See you not how Allah has created the 7 heavens, one above another, and made the moon a light in their midst, and made the sun as a glory lamp. Quran 71:15. So as you can see, there is no contradiction with modern science, and the words of Dr. Zakir Naik completely silence any attempt from the haters of Islam and Christian missionaries or atheists to prove that the Quran has scientific errors. Let's continue.
Number 4. The moon was split in two. At the very beginning of chapter 54 in the Quran, it says the moon was amazingly split in two. Why?
Okay, did you notice the deception here where he showed the moon split and then it just cracked into all these hundreds and whatever pieces? That's not how the moon splits. See, the atheist always exaggerates when he shows something. It could have literally been sliced like a sharp knife and a cake and separated. Okay, it does, and it could have been brought back together. Again, these are miracles that God Almighty can do. And again, the atheist can't actually disprove it. He can only mock the sign and the miracle. He can't turn around and say, well, I went back 1400 years ago and I've actually proved that it was just impossible. Nor can the atheist bring up science and go to the moon and fly and prove that this earth, well, the actual moon did not actually have a split. He can't actually disprove the argument. So why is he making a video saying this is all nonsensical, it didn't happen, and so forth, when the fact is that you can't actually scientifically disprove it? Now, you may argue and say, well, I can't scientifically verify, but I don't have to. I mean, I don't use that as proof and evidence for the Quran, right? This is, again, a miracle that took place for a specific point in time, just like Jesus would turn water into wine and so forth. You can't actually prove it today. It's a specific miracle for that particular time. So again, the atheist is using a straw man argument to attack the Quran when he himself can only mock it, yet can't disprove it. It's really ridiculous. I mean, all of these arguments are weak. I mean, I'm a Muslim and I watched this video and I'm like, are you serious? Like, you could do much better than this, honestly. I've seen tougher videos than this. This is just really weak. I mean, no one would really take this seriously. He then says that there should be other cultures recounting this event. I mean, if the moon split, then other cultures would see this. There's actually some historical evidence that some Indian farmers, I believe it was, actually saw the splitting of the moon. I'll put a hyperlink below this video and you can see it for yourself. But like I said, it's not evidence. I mean, we don't need to use it as evidence to prove it as a truth for the Quran. We can show you other hundreds of evidences and countless miracles in the Quran. But see, notice the deception that atheist uses. He uses a miracle which was for a particular period of time, and then he comes back 1400 years later and he says, oh, look, here you go, I want to see that same miracle that took place 1400 years ago. Well, it's ludicrous for you to say that, because that, again, miracle was for that period of time. I mean, if you want to see miracles for this time, I could show you that. I mean, we've got many, many miracles in the Quran which can be tested today, which is mentioned. And I can put a hyperlink below this video. You can see Dr. Nouhmin Ali Khan, his videos discussing the miracles for today that can be tested, and they are as follows, such as the grammatical, linguistic miracles in the Quran. And again, we'll put a hyperlink below this here and you can see it for yourself. And of course, we can show you scientific evidences as well, such as the expansion of the universe, which is mentioned in the Quran, and the Big Bang Theory is also mentioned in the Quran. There's many other scientific miracles in there as well. But you see, the atheist is so desperate, he wants to go to a miracle that was for a specific point in time to show what he's saying is just, ludicrous, and it doesn't make sense, and it's not true. So, I mean, this is just desperate. It's a straw man from the atheist. Okay, so let's go to number 3.
Sun sets on Earth. Yes, people, despite being roughly 109 times the diameter of Earth, and despite the sun's surface being about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, the sun is not only able to land on Earth, but can do so without burning us all alive. To be specific, the Quran says the sun sets in a muddy spring, effectively boiling any...
Okay, look at Zulkarnain. It doesn't say that the earth actually sets in the sun and so forth. This is a verse of the Quran which actually speaks that the sun actually appeared to Zulkarnain, right? It appeared to him that it set in murky water. Okay, so this is what appeared to him. I mean, we have weather forecasters today. They'll say the sun sets or the sun rises. Does the sun actually set and rise? No. So this is metaphorically. So the Quran uses metaphorical terms too. So it says that Dhul-Qarnayn appeared to see the sun setting in murky water. In a distance, there must have been a really huge dam or lake, and he saw it setting there. So this doesn't mean that the Quran actually believed that. It's what appeared to Dhul-Qarnayn. In fact, I produced a video responding to this. I don't want to make this video long, but I'll put the video again as a hyperlink below this video, and you can see the clear, detailed rebuttal to this again. So the atheist doesn't know what he's talking about and clearly misconstrues the Quranic statement. Let's go to number 2.
Okay, I want you to guess how the Quran describes the earth. I'll give you a hint. It's not a sphere or a ball. Give up? Alright, it's actually described as being like a carpet. Kind of like one of those city play carpets for children. Come to think of it, a lot of things in the Quran sound like the ignorant but vivid ideas.
Actually, you're the ignorant person. When the Quran actually says that we have spread out the earth, it doesn't mean that the whole earth is actually flat and circle. Okay, when the Quran says he has flattened out the earth or he has made it carpet, he is talking about it being in the general sense, the surface of the earth being flat, not the whole earth itself. Now, can you imagine if the whole earth was full of mountains and terrain? It would be really difficult and hard to cultivate the land, right? It will be really hard. So Allah has spread it out and flattened out some areas of the earth, so it's easy for man to cultivate the earth. Okay, it doesn't mean that the whole earth is actually carpet or flattened out like a carpet. This is just, again, a manipulation to the text and misconstruing the Quranic passage. In fact, Allah says in the Quran, He alternates the night into the day and the day into the night. Now, if it was a flat earth, then you wouldn't get day alternating to night and night alternating day. It would just be light and then it would just be dark. So even the Quran doesn't believe in your logic and your lies that the earth is flat like a carpet. No, it's not. Okay, let's continue.
Number 1, where semen comes from. And now, ladies and infidels, semen comes from between backbone and ribs. Wow, that is impressively wrong. You need to move a little lower. Whether it be cows or human beings, anatomy is clearly not the Quran's strong suit. So hopefully with this video you've learned some new things about the Quran.
Okay, so this is a silly, stupid person. The actual Quranic statement is absolutely accurate. The Quran doesn't say it comes from the backbone or the rib. It actually means in between the backbone, the last bone, and the rib, the last bottom rib. It's talking about your prostate glands. And we know that semen is not created just in your testicles. They're actually created in your prostate glands, in the glands area. So in those prostate glands, they don't sit exactly in between the rib and the backbone. I mean, for example, they don't have to be parallel. So the Quran just gives a description. So for example, the goalkeeper may sit between two goalposts. He doesn't have to sit exactly parallel with them. He can sit in between them. So basically that's the Quranic description too. So it doesn't have to be parallel. It basically means to sit in between them in that area, and that's where the prostate glands are. And we know that semen is actually created in those areas. So how did the Quran know this 1400 years ago, that semen was actually created in those prostate glands, not just the testicles? So the Quran itself is a great and a blessed miracle. In fact, for a more detailed video and a rebuttal to that, watch the video below. I'll put another hyperlink below this. Okay, and now he just goes on his rant saying, let's listen.
These verses. The Quran is said to be the word of Allah, and because Allah is apparently perfect in every way, the Quran is therefore perfect as well. But if that were the case, then there should not be verses in this book which we know are empirically wrong. Seeing how the
Well, you're wrong, and you've been refuted and debunked. Thank you for watching the video, folks, and this is why we say to the atheists, go and read apologetic websites and articles and respond. You upload videos and you try and, manipulate the text and trick the masses into fooling them, thinking that there are contradictions. Well, you know what? We're going to stand up to you and we're going to refute you and debunk you and let the viewers listen. But like I said, people aren't interested in truth, and that's why you'll probably have most of the viewers. But that's okay. At least the truth is out there. Whoever's seeking it can come and find it. And in fact, I'll publish my videos under your videos and we'll see how you guys deal with it. Thank you for listening. Allahu Akbar. Allah is the greatest, and we will always debunk the liars.